Hey everybody, today we're talking about jobs and certain psychological things that people have or that are getting from their job, from their career, that leads to greater satisfaction, less stress, and overall greater fulfillment when talking about a career. Now, disclaimer, you're going to have jobs throughout your life that you don't like. Not only is that not okay, sometimes it's almost necessary. When you need to pay the bills, we don't have the luxury of thinking, oh, does this job speak to me? Do I enjoy what I do? But if you're lucky and you get in a place where you're financially relatively stable and you're able to do a job or have a career that's more in line with you, it's going to make you so much more satisfied with life. Think about how many hours you spend at work. Shouldn't it be something that you kind of enjoy doing? So today I'm going to talk about 4 things that are extremely important to consider when getting a job. And these are going to be from a psychological perspective. So it won't exactly be talking about, work-life balance or whether they have good pension pay or good insurance. Like those things are a video for another time. But right now, from a psychological perspective, the first thing that's important when we look at a career that we want to do long-term is value. It is so important that we see value in the work that we do. If I have a job where I don't think I'm making a valuable contribution to society, I don't see value in it, it's going to be less satisfactory to engage in that job, to wake up in the morning, to justify going and doing this thing. Now, folks, when I say value, that doesn't mean everybody should shoot to become a heart surgeon. You might work in construction and you see the value that you do, or you might be a plumber, or you're a web designer and you see value in it. That's going to drive you with so much motivation to go ahead and want to wake up in the morning, to go ahead and want to do that job. All right. So value, what we're really talking about is intrinsic motivation, something that goes beyond paying the bills, something where I think about it and I go, if I wasn't doing this, if this job didn't exist in the world, what would happen? And I think one of the reasons why trades is such a brilliant example is we totally overlook them. Like, what would happen if all plumbers in the world disappeared? What would happen if you name them, man, whatever trade you want? Or what happens if all web designers disappeared? Or what happens if all nurses disappeared? And then quickly you start seeing the value that you bring to the world aside from financial. So the first thing that's important to note is, do I see value in the career that I'm doing? Paramedic, high school teacher, nurse, daycare assistant, being a behavioral interventionist for people with autism. Do I see value in it? That's number 1. Number 2, extremely important, folks, and this is so overlooked, decision-making and autonomy. Do I get a say in what I get to do? If my job is take these boxes, put them there, and zip it, I don't have any autonomy in that. If I'm a waiter, if I'm a waitress, I don't get much autonomy. But if I'm an instructor and they say, look, here's the curriculum, you can teach it how you want. I've got a lot of decision-making about how I want to teach this, what I want to start teaching, what material do I want to cut out. If I'm in a situation where maybe I'm a police officer, I get to choose to a degree how I respond to the situation, how quickly I can escalate. So most jobs are going to have certain guidelines. The difference is some jobs are going to be extremely by the book. There is no discretion. There's no input from you. Other jobs are going to be a lot more lenient of use your discretion. And whenever we're in a career where we can use our discretion, where we can exercise autonomy and decision-making, that leads to satisfaction like you would not believe. So in my motivational classes, when we were looking at jobs that were very motivational, it was ones where your input was necessary. Imagine you're a consultant for a big firm. Imagine you're on the board of a company. Imagine you are in a position where you can make a decision. Now, those examples I gave, they might be pretty high, but let's go down, right? It doesn't have to be this crazy thing up in the air. For example, what it could be your decision about like how to design a logo, what font to use. It could be your decision of maybe you go to a restaurant or you're a chef at this restaurant and you get to choose the dishes that you want to make. Like you help make the menu. Compare that to maybe a barista. People say, hey, I want a latte. You make him a latte exactly as it is by book. Your employer wouldn't be very happy if you started changing it. The easiest example I always go to is a teacher or is a coach. They know what they want to teach you, but they can change certain things to tailor it to you. They can adapt the music. They can adapt the session, the class. So when we have autonomy in how we go about something, And it's not just my supervisor told me this, so I'm going to do it. It leads to a great amount of satisfaction. The next one is play to your strengths, or as Eli Abdel would call it, use your unfair advantage. In life, there are certain things that we are naturally better at than other people. Or I should say, we have a slightly higher baseline, or sometimes a significantly higher baseline than other people. Maybe math was always easy to you. Maybe you find micromanaging really easy. Maybe you're exceptionally quick with Excel, that on average, people aren't. Do something that you can leverage your strength. If you're a phenomenal people person and you're charming and outgoing and great at speaking, if you go into a speaking role, if you're a receptionist, if you're a consultant, if you're in sales, it's going to be easier for you to outperform your competitors. Why? Because even if you guys both work hard, your baseline is higher than their baseline. So look, we all have unfair advantages. And if you're sitting there going, Daniel, I don't know what that is, it's like, fair enough. One way to go about figuring out, what that unfair advantage is looking at the things that you do. You might not value them a lot, but look at other people that also do it. And I know we say don't compare yourself oftentimes, but in this context, compare yourself. At this thing, am I below average, or above average? In my courses in university, how did I do? In my work experience, in my life experiences, when I did something, how did the people around me do that thing? If I was slower than other people, okay, maybe I'm below average here. If I was nothing special, all right, I'm just an average person here. But all of a sudden, a certain class that was focused on a certain topic, I excelled. Or when at work, this situation arose, when it came to IT, I took charge. Or when it came to working in a team, I did flawlessly well. Everybody wanted me to be on their team because of my hard work ethic. It's like, okay, what jobs can I go to make sure that I'm working in a team and not by myself? Because I've shown in the past that I excel when I'm working in a team. I do very well. So if we go into something that uses our unfair advantage, it's like you have an ace in your deck. You need to make sure you know how to play it. You need to make sure you know when to play it. Play to your strengths, not to someone else's. Don't play to your weakness. If you're a people person, go after a people job. If you're an IT person, go after a job that's with computers. Play to what you're good at. And I promise you, your level of growth is going to be a lot faster. The last thing that we're going to talk about jobs that can be very satisfactory, or careers that can be very satisfactory, are careers where you're mentally challenged, you're mentally stimulated. People often overlook how important it is to do something challenging. And challenging doesn't mean physically laborious. It means you're a mechanic. Someone shows up with their car and there's something wrong, and you have to figure out what it is. This is stimulating. This is interesting. What's wrong? Let's figure out what the problem here is. Or you're a chef and you're creating a dish that's really exotic and, rare or hard to make. It's got to be something where it is so stimulating in the moment that you're in the present. If you're doing something dull, if you're doing something where your mind keeps wandering, that's what tells you it's not very stimulating. Maybe you're washing a car and you're thinking about dinner. It's like, well, you don't feel very stimulated right now. But if it's something challenging, and I always go back to teaching, but it could really be, you could be a nurse, you could be an entrepreneur, you could do something with website development, you could do something with like working on a set, like acting. It could be something in relation to, heck, even like an office job, and someone says, hey, like we've got a problem. We got to come up with a couple of solutions about how to increase our profit in quarter 3 as it pertains to quarter 2. What can we make a jump? How can we increase this? So sitting there thinking, coming up with solutions to problems which require critical thinking, which keep you stimulated, is an incredibly overlooked thing that if your job has it, it is so much more satisfying. Our brain wants to work, believe it or not. It wants to keep thinking. And what happens oftentimes in classes is when people start daydreaming, like, what's going on? At some point, your brain decides whatever's going on here is not important enough for me to pay attention. So instead, I'll start thinking about spaghetti. I'll start thinking about Amanda. I'll start thinking about playing golf later today. But when we're doing something and it's stimulating and time's flying by and we're okay, how do we solve this problem? Folks, that is an amazing way to go about it. So, very quick summary. When we want a career that's satisfying from a psychological perspective, these 4 things are extremely important. 1, I find value in it beyond just the extrinsic, it helps me pay my bills. Like, I see value in what I do. I see it's worthwhile getting up in the morning. Number two, there's a level of decision making that I can take part in. There's a level of freedom that I have. Like, I can input on the outcome of this thing. And that's a lot because it means that your voice does not go unheard. Number three was playing to your strengths, right? I've always been good at website building. So when I started this job, I didn't need as much training. I was well off, which means my supervisor was extra happy with me. I did better than they thought I was going to do, which meant I get the promotion faster, which meant I get more money, which means my team's happy with me, which means I'm happy with me, which means me and my lovely lady go out on more vacations. And finally, it being stimulating, it being interesting, where you can sit there and really think about how do we solve this problem? And it's not too easy, it's not too difficult, it's right in the frickin' middle. And as long as we have those four things, the chances that I'm going to be satisfied with my job or career increases drastically. Folks, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. If it's on podcasting platforms, thank you. If it's on YouTube, I always appreciate the subscribing, the commenting, letting me know what you thought. If you have any video ideas, please let me know. I'm always open. Take care, everybody, and bye-bye.